In the vast expanse of human history, there exist numerous accounts of a catastrophic event that reshaped the face of the earth. The most well-known of these accounts is perhaps the story of Noah's flood, as recorded in the biblical book of Genesis. But have you ever stopped to consider what really happened before this monumental event? What were the circumstances that led to the destruction of an entire world, and what can we learn from the stories of old? The biblical account of Noah's flood begins with a description of the world as it was before the flood. We are told that the earth was filled with violence and corruption, and that every imagination of the thoughts of man's heart was only evil continually. This paints a picture of a world that was deeply troubled, where humanity had turned away from the ways of God and had given itself over to sin and rebellion. It is in this context that we are introduced to the figure of Noah, a just and righteous man who found favor in the eyes of God. Noah's story is one of faith and obedience, as he is instructed by God to build an ark that will save himself, his family, and two of every kind of animal from the coming flood. The ark was to be a vessel of salvation, a means by which God would preserve a remnant of his creation and start anew. But what is often overlooked in the story of Noah is the broader context in which the flood occurred. What were the spiritual and cultural forces at play that led to the downfall of the pre-flood world, and what can we learn from the mistakes of the past? One key aspect of the pre-flood world is the presence of supernatural beings known as the Nephilim. These beings are described in the biblical book of Genesis as the offspring of the sons of God and the daughters of men. They are often understood to be fallen angels or demons who took on human form and mated with human women, producing a race of giants who roamed the earth. The Nephilim are seen as a corrupting influence, leading humanity further away from God and into the depths of sin and rebellion. The presence of the Nephilim in the pre-flood world helps to explain the widespread violence and corruption that characterized this era. These supernatural beings were seen as gods by the ancient world, and their influence helped to spread idolatry and paganism throughout the earth. The Nephilim were also associated with the development of occult arts and sciences, which were used to further manipulate and deceive humanity. It is in this context that we can understand the biblical statement that every imagination of the thoughts of man's heart was only evil continually. Another important aspect of the pre-flood world is the role of the Watchers, a group of angels who were tasked with observing and guiding humanity. However, these Watchers became corrupted by their association with human women and began to teach humanity the secrets of heaven. This knowledge, which was not intended for human consumption, helped to further accelerate the downward spiral of human civilization. The Watchers and the Nephilim worked together to lead humanity away from God and into the depths of sin and rebellion. The story of the pre-flood world is one of gradual decline and corruption, as humanity turned away from the ways of God and gave itself over to sin and rebellion. The influence of the Nephilim and the Watchers helped to spread idolatry, paganism, and occultism throughout the earth, leading to a world that was filled with violence and corruption. It is against this backdrop that the story of Noah and the flood must be understood as a judgment of God against a world that had turned away from him. The flood itself is a testament to the power and majesty of God, as he unleashes his wrath upon a world that had rebelled against him. The flood is a picture of God's judgment, a reminder that he will not tolerate sin and rebellion forever. However, the flood is also a picture of God's mercy and salvation, as he preserves a remnant of his creation through the ark. The story of Noah and the flood is a reminder that God is both just and merciful, and that he will always provide a way of salvation for those who are willing to turn to him. As we reflect on the story of the pre-flood world, we are reminded of the importance of living in accordance with God's will. The corruption and violence of the pre-flood world serve as a warning to us, a reminder of the dangers of turning away from God and giving ourselves over to sin and rebellion. The story of Noah and the flood encourages us to seek after God, to live in accordance with his will, and to trust in his mercy and salvation. In addition to the biblical account, there are many extra-biblical sources that provide further insight into the pre-flood world. The ancient Sumerians, for example, left behind a rich legacy of literature and mythology that describes a world similar to the one described in the biblical account. The Sumerians spoke of a great flood that destroyed their world, and of a hero who survived the flood and became the founder of a new civilization. Similarly, the ancient Greeks spoke of a great flood that destroyed their world, and of a hero named Deucalion who survived the flood and became the founder of a new civilization. These extra-biblical accounts provide further evidence of the widespread nature of the flood and of the impact that it had upon human civilization. They also provide insight into the cultural and spiritual forces that shaped the pre-flood world and help to shed further light upon the biblical account. As we consider these accounts, we are reminded of the importance of seeking after truth and understanding, and of being open to the wisdom and knowledge that can be gained from a variety of sources. The story of the pre-flood world is a complex and multifaceted one, full of mysteries and wonders. As we delve deeper into this story, we are reminded of the importance of faith and obedience, and of the need to seek after God and to live in accordance with His will. The story of Noah and the flood is a reminder that God is both just and merciful, and that He will always provide a way of salvation for those who are willing to turn to Him. As we consider the story of the pre-flood world, we are also reminded of the importance of being mindful of our own place in history. We are part of a long line of human beings who have sought to understand and make sense of the world around them. We are part of a story that stretches back thousands of years, a story that is full of twists and turns, of triumphs and tragedies. As we seek to understand the pre-flood world, we are reminded of the importance of learning from the past and of being mindful of the consequences of our actions. The story of the pre-flood world is a cautionary tale, a reminder of the dangers of turning away from God and giving ourselves over to sin and rebellion. It is a reminder of the importance of seeking after truth and wisdom and of being open to the guidance and direction of God. As we reflect on this story, we are encouraged to seek after God, to live in accordance with His will, and to trust in His mercy and salvation. In conclusion, the story of the pre-flood world is a complex and multifaceted one, full of mysteries and wonders. It is a story that reminds us of the importance of faith and obedience, and of the need to seek after God and to live in accordance with His will. As we consider this story, we are reminded of the importance of being mindful of our own place in history, and of the need to learn from the past, and to be mindful of the consequences of our actions. If you would like to learn more about the pre-flood world and the story of Noah's flood, be sure to like and subscribe to our channel, and to comment below with your thoughts and questions. By doing so, you will be helping to support our mission to provide high-quality content that explores the intersection of faith and history. Thank you for watching, and we look forward to hearing from you in the comments.